Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast for November 22nd, 2024. This is episode 330. Oh man. I don't know what it is. Every time I hit another 10 episodes, it just feels like a little milestone, and I am closing in on my goal for 365 episodes of a daily podcast. What the heck am I thinking? I don't know, everybody. Stand-up comedian, actor, improviser, and dreamer, Paul Green, sharing my journey as I pursue my dreams in the hopes that perhaps you will pursue yours. And I'll tell you what, I'm just in the middle of it right now. I am in between shows here. I've got a bit of a break from stand-up until next week. And last night, on Thursday night, I was in Yuma, Arizona with Josh Novy doing the Midlife Crisis comedy show for a sold-out audience of about 80 people. But it was still sold out. It was in a small black box theater down in Yuma, right next door to their gigantic theater. Because what had happened is we went to Yuma a couple months ago, back in September, and we tried renting the big theater, and we did okay. But we figured, well, do we want to slightly fill up a gigantic theater, or do we want to sell out a black box theater? And having done both, we've actually decided to go back to the big theater in December. So on December 21st, we're going to be back in downtown Yuma. Only this time we're going back to the big theater. And our hope is, now that we're starting to get a little bit of traction, a little bit of momentum, that maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to fill out that the big theater. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, it was a very fun show. And my next actual stand-up performance won't be until Thanksgiving. That's right. I am actually going to be performing on Thanksgiving Day in New Mexico at a casino/resort called Inn of the Mountain Gods, which is actually a really nice hotel and casino. I performed there earlier this year, back in maybe February or March. As a matter of fact, it was on that very road trip that I introduced my first ever guest on the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, a comedian named Chase Clay. And yeah, he hopped on the podcast. He and I did a little two-person comedy tour, accompanied by his wife, who was gracious enough to drive the entire way. So anyway, I will be back at the Inn of the Mountain Gods on Thanksgiving, and then I have a couple more casino gigs coming up on that Sunday and then next Monday. But other than that, I have a few days here with no stand-up comedy gigs. But that doesn't mean that I am not without performance, because later today, meaning Saturday the 23rd, I will be doing another character acting gig with the Fairy Tale Adventures company that I do some character work for periodically. The first gig I ever did with this company, I was Blippi from YouTube. And then I did Batman. And today, for some reason, they're booking me to play Superman. And I have no idea how the heck I'm going to pull this off. If you don't know what I look like, I am a cue ball bald man. I look a heck of a more lot like Lex Luthor than Superman. So, the owner of the company, though, she says, oh no, we have a wig. So, I'm going to have to, shave my face and, put on a wig and a Superman outfit and hope that I can fool children into, making them think that I am indeed Clark Kent, the Man of Steel, Superman himself. So, I will be doing that later today. And other than that, I feel like it's going to be kind of a chill couple of days as I am still in hot pursuit of pursuing my dreams as a performer and an entertainer. And it's been there's been some interesting mental and emotional shifts as of late. I have been knee deep in a book called Mind Magic, which is a book written by a neuroscientist. I think I pronounced it correctly now. My girlfriend pointed out that I have been saying neuroscientist, which is not correct. It's neuroscientist. I don't know what a neuroscientist is. Wasn't Nero, what, Nero is a somebody. Nero, wasn't he like a, I don't know. I know that name has some sort of like historical significance? Was he like a king or like a conqueror or a Grecian ancient senator or a philosopher? I don't know. Anyway, it's not neuroscientist, it's neuroscientist. And it's funny because I watched one YouTube video with this guy like 2 months ago. He just popped up on my feed. I'd never heard of him before. And he was getting interviewed on, I think the first one I saw him on was Lewis Howes' School of Greatness. I'm a big fan of Lewis Howe. And the title of the YouTube video was "The Universe Doesn't Give an F About You." um, but it's not something that at least I see a lot. A lot of the people in the self-help space, in the theology space, seem pretty adamant on letting us know that there's an infinite loving God who loves us and gives us things, and we can pray and ask for whatever we want and it will be given to us. And so to see a pretty significant contrast to that concept of an all-loving God, to see that the universe doesn't give an F. By the way, obviously I'm editing out what it actually said. Was a little intriguing. And so I started watching this guy, and he's absolutely brilliant. He actually is a brain surgeon. So he was a, doctor and obviously a scientist of the brain. You got to be a scientist of the brain if you're going to cut it open. So what's really interesting is how it may seem actually remarkably depressing or discouraging to consider that idea that the universe doesn't give an F. However, when you actually listen to him, it actually is some of the greatest news ever. Because I think what it is trying to convey at its essence is that whatever it is that you really want or are truly seeking is totally fine. Go for it. because the universe doesn't care. Now, I can already, I already know there's all kinds of counter arguments or opinions about that. Well, if the universe doesn't give an F, you can just do what you want, then isn't that why people go and do horrible things? It's kind of like, well, yeah, because horrible things happen all the time. And those horrible things are allowed to happen. They don't, the moment that somebody decides to do something atrocious, there isn't some automatic intervening force that comes in and stops all bad things. So uh, whatever universe or God is out there allows bad things to happen, which by that same token means that they will allow great things to happen. And I don't know, it's very freeing to me. It's actually very encouraging of, oh yeah, I have this big dream. I have this big ambition. Go for it. Nobody's stopping me except myself, except my own beliefs, except my own efforts, my own doubts. And that belief system and what I believe about myself and what I believe is available and possible for me is totally up to me to make that decision. And whatever universe is up there doesn't care. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. So that has really been what I have been trying to focus on and improve upon in my own efforts to pursue my dreams, is that idea of letting go of whatever guilt or shame or doubts that exist within me in regards to my own capacity or my own judgment of my own desires to go and pursue what it is that is in my heart and what is speaking to me and what drives me to push through all of the discouragement and the setback and the disappointment. And the reason I say judgment is I how do I approach this nugget here, because this is a pretty significant component of my life and my journey. And what I mean by that is I seem to have had, as I grew up and well into my adult years, this idea that if I was wanting to pursue something grand that would be lucrative or bring with it fame and fortune, that was somehow wrong or selfish or self-serving, and that such a pursuit would deem me perhaps maybe unworthy or a less benevolent, righteous being, and that what I should be pursuing is more a life of humble, meager means. Now, I'm not even going to dive into where those messages came from or any of that because, quite frankly, I don't want to. But those were the messages that I was receiving throughout most of my life. It's almost as though there was a narrative that being impoverished is a virtue, or being small and insignificant and poor and humble is a more virtuous, righteous life than all of those selfish, capitalist, money-grubbing, power-hungry fat cats out in the world. Which, by the way, I'm not claiming that that's a virtue either. So, what does this have to do with anything? So, as I have delved more into what my life is about and what it is that I'm seeking and what my desires are and my passions are and what brings me joy and what brings me meaning and fulfillment, I am finding that I also need to let go of the judgments that I have of myself and those desires. And it's requiring me to realign my what I consider virtuous and what I consider righteous, because the hierarchy of virtues that was instilled in me, I'm finding, first of all, are not the absolute truth. And there is something very fascinating about us human beings, which is our capacity to subscribe to beliefs and opinions and deem them as absolute fact and the truth, even though they objectively are not the truth. But as human beings man, we are so sure that what we are believing is the truth must be the absolute truth. It's pretty fascinating. I mean, just look at the discrepancy of world religions. You know, if you want to just talk about the big three, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, you know, you got three major world religions, all absolutely certain that what they are preaching and espousing is not just a philosophy or not just one framework or ideology through which to live your life and to have an effective, meaningful life. It's no, this is the truth. The capital truth. And any other attempt to live a life or have a thought or philosophy different than that constitutes sin or error. So that assurance of us human beings willing to take, which is actually more of a philosophy or opinion, and label it as the undefiled, undisputed, objective truth, goes far beyond religion. And is really a fascinating phenomenon, and one that I'm having to constantly check in my own life, where I have to ask myself the question, hey, I believe this thing and I'm living my life as though it is the objective truth, but is it? And if it is not, and there is an error of, or an element of subjectivity to it, then to what degree is my entire life based off of what seems to be objective but is actually subjective? And if so, what adjustments can I make? And are there certain elements of my life that I'm actually not happy with or that are dissatisfactory that could be improved if I actually adjusted what I was basing my life to be as the objective truth? Did that sentence make sense? Anyway, this Mind Magic book has really started to cause me to look so much deeper in my psyche, in my belief systems, in my framework, and really ask myself the question, is what I'm believing actually true? Are the hierarchy of values that I'm prioritizing in my life actually going to bring me the life of my dreams? And do I actually feel I deserve the life of my dreams? Or do I actually believe that if I was living the life of my dreams, that I would actually somehow be sinning or be living a life that was taught to me as a less than righteous or virtuous life because there are desires for wealth in there or some desires for fame, and those desires are evil or selfish or self-serving, which, by the way, I'm not claiming that they aren't. I am just pointing out the fact that I have really begun to question everything and allowing myself to detach from the judgments that perhaps I have had of my own desires to be successful and to live a life of my dreams. And it's not an easy process. It's not, at least it hasn't been for me. And what I'm beginning to allow myself more and more is the freedom to say to myself that what I'm pursuing and what my dreams are is perfectly fine and doesn't make me a bad person or doesn't make me a, selfish, capitalistic, evil, money-grubbing fat cat. And again, that's not to say that those people aren't out there, but that's not what I'm actually pursuing. That just because my dream does have an element of success and fame as part of what it is that I'm pursuing, that doesn't also mean that I am, a kingpin of a drug cartel, and that it is perfectly within my capacity as a human being to go and pursue that. And at the end of the day, the universe doesn't give an F that that's what I'm pursuing. Ho! Look at me bringing that all full circle. Oh man, okay. Hopefully I navigated that in a coherent stream of thought. Didn't mean to get that deep, but I'm filming this really early. It's 2 a.m. I actually fell asleep really early last night, which was nice because I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before. And I totally crashed and then woke up super early this morning. And I'm kind of in that sort of meditative, I'm kind of tired, but I'm kind of awake. And I don't have anything going on. And it's dead quiet and dark in my room. And my mind was just waxing philosophical. So that's what came out. So whatever it is that your dreams are, whatever it is that you want to pursue, whatever it is that is in your heart, I would say let go of whatever judgments you may have um, of yourself for wanting a thing, for wanting to pursue a dream, for wanting to um, find success, whatever that may look like for you, and um, allow yourself the freedom of judgment to go out and pursue it, knowing that at the end of the day, the universe does not give an F that you're out there pursuing your dreams and going for what you want in life. And you have my blessing. All right, everybody. That's all for today for the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. November 22nd, 2024, episode 330. I love you all so much. I hope you're doing well, and I will talk to you tomorrow.